Hey guys, it's CJ here of Yugatech, and we've got here the Vivo Y29. The Vivo Y29 might look like just another budget phone on paper, but it's got a few key highlights that give it an edge in its priced segment. A 120Hz display, Snapdragon 685 processor, a surprisingly large 6500 mAh battery, and Android 15 out of the box? It definitely sounds promising, but how well does it all come together? Let's find out here in this full review. The Y29 doesn't try to reinvent the wheel, but what's here is quite polished. It's a tall and slightly hefty phone, weighing in about 204 grams. It feels sturdy in hand. The matte finish on the espresso brown version looks clean and hides fingerprints well, while the marble white variant, which we have here, has a glossy coating that feels a little thicker in the hand at 208 grams. The back panel has a slight curve that helps with the grip, and while the body is mostly plastic, the build quality is reassuring. It has an IP64 rating for dust and splash resistance, plus SGS 5-star drop protection and military-grade durability certification. That adds some peace of mind if you're accident-prone or just want something a bit tougher than the average budget device. The button layout is pretty standard. Volume rocker and power button with an integrated fingerprint sensor on the right side, while a hybrid SIM card tray and Type-C port on the bottom. You'll also find the speaker grill and mic there too. On the front, Vivo has equipped the Y29 with a 6.68-inch HD Plus LCD panel. Meanwhile, you get a resolution of 1608 by 720, which isn't particularly sharp for this size, but it's still decent enough for day-to-day use, especially if you're not pixel peeping. What helps elevate the experience is the 120Hz refresh rate. Scrolling feels smooth, app transitions are more fluid, and animations look snappy. This isn't something you'd always get at this price point. And while it doesn't quite hit flagship OLED levels, it's bright enough to use outdoors and under direct lighting without struggling too much. The screen is protected by Scott glass, which is a welcome bonus. The display stays bright enough for most indoor and outdoor situations. Colors look decent for an LCD, though they aren't as vivid as you'd get on an AMOLED screen, and blacks tend to lean towards grayish colors. But hey, that's a fair trade-off for good battery life and smoothness. For audio, Vivo has packed in dual stereo speakers that get impressively loud, up to 400% volume, entering audio booster mode. You have the speaker grill here at the bottom, while the other speaker is hidden above the front camera. The stereo separation is good, especially when watching videos or playing games in landscape mode, and they do get loud enough for casual media consumption. However, the sound quality feels somewhat compressed and a bit crusty at higher volumes. The audio lacks clarity and depth for my taste, which makes music and movie tracks sound a bit flat and squeezed. But for casual listening, podcasts, or video calls, the speakers do a decent job. Overall, the Vivo Y29's display and multimedia setup hits the right notes for its price point, with the smooth 120Hz screen refresh being its standout feature. Just keep your expectations in check when it comes to audio richness. Cameras aren't always a strong suit for budget phones, but Vivo has made a decent effort with the Y29. On paper, it comes with a dual rear setup featuring a 50-megapixel main camera and a 2-megapixel auxiliary lens. The front shoot is an 8-megapixel sensor housed in a punch hole notch. Starting with the 50-megapixel main camera, the output is generally pretty solid in good lighting. Photos come out sharp with respectable detail and natural-looking colors. It handles everyday subjects like food, pets, and architecture pretty well. There's a slight over-sharpening in some images, but it's not aggressive enough to ruin shots. Dynamic range is decent, though it tends to struggle when there's a stark difference between bright skies and darker foregrounds. You may notice some blown highlights or ruined shadows in high-contrast scenes. In portrait mode, edge detection is surprisingly good for a phone in this price range. It manages to isolate subjects cleanly most of the time with only a few hiccups when dealing with tricky outlines like messy hair or busy backgrounds. The depth blur looks fairly natural, though you can't control the intensity post-shot. As for the selfie camera, the 8-megapixel shooter delivers what you'd expect. It performs well in daylight and it's serviceable for casual selfies and video calls. Skin tones can sometimes look a bit pale or overly smooth depending on the lighting, and the beauty filters are aggressive by default. Thankfully, you can adjust or turn them off. For Zoom calls, school meetings, or just social media, it's perfectly adequate. Video recording caps at a 1080p by 30 frames per second for both the front and rear cameras. Footage is stable enough when you're standing still, but there's no stabilization when walking or panning. Color and audio pickup are acceptable, though don't expect cinematic results. The microphones are decent for voice clarity, especially in quieter environments. Overall, the Vivo Y29 won't replace a dedicated camera or even compete with mid-range camera phones, but it holds its own in its category. Daylight shots are strong, portraits are better than expected, and selfies are usable. As long as you're not pushing it in low light or expecting flagship-level video, it delivers a reliable camera experience for everyday use. Now, let's talk about performance. The Vivo Y29 is powered by a Snapdragon 685. It's paired with 8GB of RAM and up to 8GB of extended virtual memory. Storage options come in 128GB and 256GB. And there's room for more via a micro SD card of up to 2TB. Though keep in mind that the card shares the same slot as your second SIM. For everyday tasks like social media, browsing, messaging, or streaming videos, the Vivo Y29 holds up pretty well. Animations feel smooth, partly thanks to the 120Hz refresh rate, and navigating through the UI doesn't feel sluggish. App launches are fairly quick, and the system manages memory well enough to keep a few apps in the background without needing to reload them. But once you start gaming, the limits of the Snapdragon 685 starts to show. If you try a more demanding title like Wuthering Waves, the phone starts to struggle. Even at the lowest settings, you'll notice slow load times, frequent stutters, and some lag during combat. The frame rate drops are hard to ignore, especially in open-world segments. It's playable but not exactly enjoyable if you're used to smoother experiences. Thermals are kept in check, and the phone doesn't heat up excessively even after 30 to 40 minutes of gameplay. Though it does get warm near the camera module, this is manageable and doesn't seem to cause throttling during light tasks. But it's something to note if you're planning long play sessions. So in short, performance is respectable for its class. It's smooth for casual users and handles light to moderate workloads with no major issues. Just don't expect flagship level gaming chops. The Vivo Y29 runs on FunTouch OS 15 on top of Android 15, which is a nice surprise in the budget space. Not many entry-level phones ship with the latest Android version, so this gives the Y29 a bit of an edge when it comes to software longevity and compatibility. The UI is clean with a layout that's close to stock Android, though it still carries Vivo's own styling and tweaks. Navigation feels smooth and transitions are quick. And general responsiveness is solid, especially for everyday use like browsing, messaging, or switching between apps. The overall system feels snappy, and the phone does a good job keeping things fluid under typical loads. However, there's no denying it, there is a lot of bloatware. Most of them are uninstallable, but it does feel like there's too much packed in at setup. It's not a deal breaker, but it takes a few minutes to clean things up and get the system the way you want it. Still, for general use, FunTouch OS is responsive and gets the job done. It's not the cleanest out there, but once you deal with the extra apps, the experience is smooth, modern, and functional. Just what you'd want from a phone at this level. Here is where the Vivo Y29 really shines. Its battery. It's rocking a massive 6,500 mAh battery, and that's something you'll instantly appreciate if you're the type who hates charging every night. For casual users who are mostly on socials, YouTube, and messaging apps, this phone can easily last you 2 full days. Even if you're more on the heavy side, you'll still be left with enough battery to push through the night. We ran the PC Mark battery test and it clocked in at around 32 hours, which is insanely good for a budget to mid-range phone. That puts it ahead of a lot of similarly priced devices and even some that cost more. So if you're someone who needs that all-day battery life, whether it's for work, classes, or even just non-stop content consumption, the Y29 won't let you down. Charging isn't super fast though, but it's definitely fast enough. The Y29 supports 44-watt wired charging, and Vivo includes the charger in the box. From 0 to full, you're looking at roughly an hour and 20 to 30 minutes depending on whether you're using it while charging. But if you're in a rush, a 30-minute top-up gets you around 50 to 60%, which is plenty for a day's worth of light use. There's no wireless charging here, but honestly, at this price, we weren't expecting it. As for connectivity, it covers all the essentials. You get nano SIM support, 4G LTE, dual-band Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 5.0, and full GPS compatibility. Sure, there's no 5G, and that might be a deal breaker for some. But 4G is still plenty fast for most daily tasks. Streaming videos, video calling, downloading apps, it all runs smoothly as long as your network is decent. The Vivo Y29 doesn't try to overreach. Instead, it focuses on the basics and does them really well. You're getting a huge battery, the latest Android version, decent everyday performance, and a smooth 120Hz screen. It's not a performance monster, and the cameras are average at best. But for a daily driver that can keep going without needing a charger halfway through the day, it's a solid choice. If you value battery life, modern software, and a high refresh rate display, the Y29 is well worth considering in the budget to mid-range category. And that wraps up our review of the Vivo Y29. What do you guys think? Are you planning to get it for yourself? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. If you find this content helpful and informative, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel, hit that bell icon to get notified of our future uploads. Follow us on our socials and check out yougettech.com for the latest tech news and reviews. Once again, this has been CJ, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye! See you later! Thanks for watching!